Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: what is a legal scam that is still happening in 2022? Printing fee for digital tickets. Especially when you have to print them at home, with your own printer, paper, and ink. Don't tell that to HP and their printer subscription service with ink cartridges that get deactivated if you unsubscribe. Ticketmaster. WTF is a handling fee when I am the one handling my own phone. Edit: I was just making a flip smart-ass answer to the scam question. I had no idea it was this much of a problem. LOL. Ticketmaster actually had a class action lawsuit where they had to pay out $400 million USD to 50 million ticket buyers due to order processing fees and UPS delivery fees that were apparently bogus and weren't actually spent on anything specific. There's an interesting article Vox wrote about ticket fees and why they're so arbitrary. There was an FTC panel where multiple industry reps talked about it. Recommend reading it if you want the DL on the whole thing. Interesting thing is that supposedly all in pricing, aka being upfront about fees and showing the full price of a ticket including fees, lost StubHub business after they experimented with doing it, so that might have something to do with why the fees continue to be hidden when you're buying concert tickets. I remember that. I think we got $1. Congress officials being allowed to trade stocks. This on so many levels. I worked for a large accounting firm in the US, I was IT for the S&P basically. My dad and Mill could not hold stocks in certain business while I worked there. But Congress can buy and sell on anything they are making laws about. Civil servants working in sensitive areas literally cannot hold stocks in those industries. How Congress can do so makes no sense at all. That all of government gets lumped into the corruption at the elected officials is infuriating. Insider trading within Congress. But if we do it, we end up in prison. Martha Stewart sold stocks and made 45 Kelvin and it was called insider trading. Politicians sell stocks and make millions and that's called a free market. Shit's fucked. MLMs. I'm my own CEO. No, you aren't. You literally have a company telling you what you can and can't do. Imagine starting a company where you take responsibility for all of the expenses but get none of the revenue. I worked at a legit company whose slogan was "Be your own CEO." 6 months later I was fired basically for laziness and I asked hour before I left if as my own CEO I could appeal the decision. They didn't even laugh. If debt collectors can trick a grieving person into uttering words that imply you take responsibility for your dead relative's debts, that can be treated as a binding oral contract and allow them to collect from you. Edit: I've gotten a lot of replies saying this is unenforceable in pretty much any jurisdiction. They just make you believe that's the case so they can increase the pressure for you to pay. Don't give them a dime and go talk to a lawyer, you should do that anyway before following legal advice from someone who may not even be in your country. In my country you legally can't inherit debt. Can't believe that's not the norm everywhere. All creditors must share whatever is left in the estate. / used to work in debt collection. You can't inherit debt in the US either. But that doesn't stop them from trying. If they get you to say that you're responsible for the debt, they'll say that constitutes a legal contract and you have to pay it now. Or if they get you to make a small payment toward it, same thing. Very shady. Edit: yes, I know that's not how contracts work. But most people don't know that, especially if they're dealing with a recent death in the family. The creditors will try any shady thing they can to scare them and get money. I got a call from a debt collector in 2021 trying to collect on a debt my father took out in 2019. Dad died in 2018. She threatened me, kept calling me, harassed me. It wasn't my fault that they gave credit to a scammed who used my dad's information to take out a credit card and rack it up. She was vicious and tried to get me to pay this debt. I had to send Dad's death certificate and contact the police to get her to stop. They got my number by threatening my 80-year-old mom. Mom gave them my number because I was the executor. It was horrible. It turns out it was a family member who had taken out the credit card with my dad's information. And he never had to pay it back because I dealt with it. Edit: I didn't expect this to get that much attention. I'm Canadian so the call came from Toronto where I have a lot of extended family. So I usually answer calls from two. The family member has the exact same name as my dad. Middle name and everything so fraud was easy. Just applied with Dad's birthday and SIN. When I proved that Dad was dead when the card was taken out and filed a report, I didn't know it was this person, so I gave the credit agency the file number. It was too small for them to really care, 3,500, and told them to never contact me again. I never heard from them again. I found out a couple of months later when the person told me it was them over dinner. It was a big joke to them. I hadn't filed Dad's final tax return, so his SIN was still active. If that ever happens to you, or whomever is reading this, in the future, report them to the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Collectors cannot threaten you, nor call you repeatedly, or harass you in any way. *source: I work for a recovery regulation company. Hi, I'm a lawyer. This isn't true. There's this thing called the Statute of Frauds. It's a common law contract doctrine that dictates certain types of contracts need to be in writing for them to be enforceable. A surety is when a third person makes a promise to a creditor to pay the debts of another, and under the Statute of Frauds a surety must be in writing. So no, an oral promise to pay the debts of the other, alive or deceased, cannot be treated as a binding or enforceable oral contract. Look, if you want to get in on some legal scam, you have to do your own research. That's why I recommend you buy my book, What You Can Do to Legally Become Rich in 12 Easy Lessons. Just 24 easy payments of $199.99 and you will have the secrets to being a millionaire unveiled right before your eyes. My personal testimonial of this. I'm not a big reading person, but when I picked up What You Can Do to Legally Become Rich in 12 Easy Lessons, each lesson was only a paragraph long and used words even I could understand. I'd highly recommend this book. I'm so dedicated to this book that I even signed up to be their affiliate to save you 20% off your purchase. Use my promo code COFFEEROXGLASAFILATEPARTA20 at checkout. Whoa! 20% is such a huge amount of savings. I know that you only have 7 affiliate spots and so thankful that I got your last spot. Because I'm such a team player though, I will be giving a 20% discount to the next 7 affiliates that signs up with me. Get this book now and you too can legally become rich like us. Civil forfeiture. You're going to tell me that a cop thinks that my property might be used for illegal activity, and that cop is going to steal it from me and pad their department's bottom line. What the actual F? Enough people don't know about this. Unless you're one of the victims it happens to, then you're like WTF, the police just robbed me. The average person probably doesn't carry a lot of cash on them at once, so people probably just don't think about it. Choosing to carry a large amount of cash on your person being considered probable cause for illegal activity and allowing the cops to seize it without due process is one of the most broken things about our system. Everyone that knows what it is thinks it's bullshit whether they love or hate the current state of policing in the US, yet it sticks around. Title pawns, payday loans, some charging 300% interest. Payday loans are illegal in some states. I know they are in West Virginia. I know a few of them are on Native American reservations because of state law. Paying services charges. I don't mind paying a $10 delivery fee but will not pay a 99-cent service charge. Yeah, fuck DoorDash. Sweet, free delivery. Wait, $7 service charge. And I'm tipping on top of that. Edit, Jesus, people, I'm bitching about the service charge, not the tip. Quit acting like I don't tip. You see, the service charge was for DoorDash. The delivery guy never sees a cent of that. We probably took a third of the food's cost out of the restaurant's profits, too. Aren't we a helpful and convenient service? Televangelists like Joel Osteen. In that note, church is not paying taxes. It's completely unacceptable and really disgusting. I cannot imagine tithing to a church with a pastor who has big houses and a private jet and luxury cars. Megachurches are just a service that people willingly pay for. So they should be treated like a business and not have tax-exempt status. Most churches don't have pastors like that. It's pastors like Ken Copeland who do stuff like that. The troubled teen industry. It doesn't work. It traumatizes children. It's legal kidnapping. I hope more attention comes to it and something happens. They're a business and the goal is to make money, not help troubled teenagers. FFS, half the time the kids aren't even troubled. ETA. The troubled teen industry refers to for-profit organizations aimed at steering rebellious and at-risk youth onto a better path through reform camps. But their methods are tough love, negative/positive punishments and physical labor. Because it's a business meant to make money, a lot of corner cutting happens. They hire young and untrained staff for less pay rather than therapists and certified nurses and teachers. It's also not regulated at all, so they can effectively do whatever they want with little recourse. They use scared straight tactics and beat kids into obedience. They claim the best way to send a kid there is by surprise, so they don't try and run beforehand. Hacker burst into their room at 2 a.m. and drag them into a van with very few belongings. Look up a school for a notorious one. Paris Hilton was kidnapped at 2 a.m. and sent to Provo Canyon when she was 16. Look at how well that worked. Go through this thread for some horror stories. Edit 2. Thank you to everyone who clarified the difference between reinforcement and punishment. I've been using the terms interchangeably. I went to one of those places in the 1990s. In Utah, where those schools are really popular because apparently they have very lax child protection laws. They had all these brochures showing kids horseback riding and swimming, on an estate with sweeping green lawns like Professor Xavier's school. LOL no, the real facility was an old church that had been converted into dorms. Girls had a series of shared attic rooms, boys had the ground floor. The school wasn't even a school, we had to basically teach ourselves from textbooks while sitting at desks set up in the basketball court at night. They'd have one teacher there, but they didn't teach, just gave us tests and monitored us. They had solitary confinement that they'd use if you got in trouble, which they called the ISU, Intensive Supervision Unit. I saw all sorts of messed up shit there. One of my most vivid memories is that they brought a new kid in who was a heroin addict. Instead of getting him medical treatment for withdrawal, they threw him in the ISU and basically just made him sweat it out all week with no help. The ISU was right outside the female dorm, so we could hear his yells and crying echoing around day and night. It was horrific. As an adult, I handle prison litigation, and have seen multiple in-custody deaths caused that way. Heroin withdrawal itself isn't lethal but can cause death from secondary symptoms like extreme dehydration, or blood loss from esophageal tearing. The kid could have died. He sounded like he was dying sometimes. But that's the type of shit they get away with at these places. I've also heard of them refusing to give people their high school transcripts years later. There has been some litigation about that. I have so many stories. Edit for shits and giggles, I googled them. They are still operating, and their website shows a picture of this huge, elegant building which is absolutely not the real place as their address hasn't changed. Looks like they're still at it. The Utah legislature passed laws in 2021 to begin to rein in some of these horrible practices. Paris Hilton came out to testify in favor of the bills. I accidentally got sent to a troubled teens camp as a 9-year-old kid as a reward. No, really, because the camp wildly mischaracterized what they did as a super fun leadership retreat for gifted students who wanted to develop leadership skills in addition to their academic pursuits. What it actually ended up being was some kind of spooky scared straight program for drug-addicted, sexually promiscuous teens who had both seen and done some serious shit. I was allowed to bring a friend along, so I brought one of my best friends along at the time, and we've spoken about the camp maybe twice in the 20 years since. After going to this camp, my grades tanked, my sleep suffered, I suddenly had been info-dumped with scary information about the world that I wasn't prepared for because I was both a sheltered kid and for my situation none of it was age-appropriate whatsoever. This makes me sad. I'm sorry. Had this happened to a friend of mine? They came in at 3 a.m. screaming, tore the blankets off, shoved them in a van and took them to boot camp. They committed suicide when they got out. It's fucked because some places actually ask parents if they can do that. Straight up make them think they're being kidnapped or taken to prison. Just to scare them. This is a great one. I had no idea this existed until Paris Hilton of all people made a movie about it. But Babby, Cash Me Outside, was sent to a teen camp by Drive. Phil. https:// is a great webcomic to read if you're interested in one of the more notorious schools which Reddit actually helped take down.